Today, we are going to look at MassMutual's 15-pay whole life insurance product. So the 15-pay policy is a very attractive option among MassMutual whole life insurance policies if your goal is cash accumulation. So if you want to maximize the cash value of a whole life insurance policy, the 15-pay will be among the top. It'll be number 2 if you're measuring the cash value growth and performance. Number 1 is their 10-pay product. But what's one of the advantages of a 15-pay product compared to a 10-pay product? If you are 50 years old and you want to pay into it until 65, can you easily do that with a 10-pay policy? No, the premium is due for 10 years. Whereas with a 15-pay policy, can you do it? Yes, it's due for 15 years. Now, with a 15-pay policy, do you have to pay into it for 15 years? No, you do not. You can stop much earlier. We're going to look at an example of that as well. But the 15-pay product is a very nice option. When MassMutual revamped their product portfolio a couple years ago, they set up their 10-pay and 15-pay policies really to be their premier cash accumulation products. So if you're looking at a whole life insurance policy for maximum cash value, you decide that MassMutual is a good fit for you after you've looked at a couple companies, those two products, you will see the highest internal rate of return when looking at the cash value growth. So let's take a look at the 15-pay policy. We're going to look at one policy and demonstrate different funding scenarios. So this would be nice to answer the question, what do you need to decide up front? Because this individual's plan is going to assume that he wants to fund it for 15 years. That'll take him until he is 65 years old. But then he also wants to see, what if life happens or I just flat out decide to stop after 5 years? So let's look at the numbers, shall we? All right. So we've got our 15-pay policy. Supplemental values, my favorite section. Here's a 15-pay policy funded for 15 years. Funding amount, $100,000 per year, annual net outlay through the age of 65. Where is his money going? Up here. You've got the premium, $10,000. And you've got LISR, which stands for Life Insurance Supplement Rider. You've got $581,000 and change. This is our term insurance amount. And then annually, $37.85. This is a combination of money going toward PUAs and also satisfying the cost of the term rider. Then you've got scheduled AILR, NA under face amount, but $85,000. This is MassMutual's pure PUA rider. And then lastly, you've got renewable term rider. $450,000 is the amount. That's a pure term insurance rider. The premium, $1,215. A lot going on. Here's the main thing to be aware of. We've got the base premium at 10%, and all of that term is attached to raise the death benefit to just about $1.4 million. Where we came up with that number, because it's kind of an oddball number for someone that expresses cash accumulation is my goal right now. Death benefit long-term, yes, but right now cash accumulation. That death benefit gives him that MEC limit. That's where we came up with a number in this particular case. So we've got the funding at $100,000 per year for 15 years and nothing thereafter. What's your first year cash value? 88%. Paid in $100,000, you have $88,000 in cash value. When's your break-even point? Is it year 4? You've paid in a total of $400,000. Your cash value is $393. It's not your break-even point. Year 5, you've paid in $500. Your cash value is $505 and change. There's your break-even point. Break-even is the first year your cash value is equal to or greater than your total payments. And he continues to feed this policy through the age of 65. Here's a question for you. Age 60, pretend this is you. You said, I still want to fund this until I'm 65 years old, but I can't do $100K anymore. The most I can pay in and what I want to pay in is $40,000. Is that possible? The answer is yes. And here's why. Your premium is $10,000. Premium is a fixed amount. The renewable term, if we dropped our funding to $40,000, we would actually drop that term, but let's assume we're still paying that. We would still need to pay that. So that would be our minimum commitment. We might round up and have a lesser premium of about $800. So our true minimum there would be about $12,000 per year. So if you're paying 40, what happens? You're covering the minimum and still flowing funds into PUAs to maximize the cash value. And at this point in time, if you said at year 10, I want to reduce to 40 or say just the minimum premium, the cash value is still going to grow. Remember, the premium piece, it takes the biggest hit in the first year, but as time passes, that base premium is coming back to work for you. It's building cash value. So you're not going to see that premium just go out the door if you only paid the premium. It would build equity for you and you would continue to see your death benefit grow in this example as well. But that's funding it for 15 years. What if you said, I need to stop, or I want to stop? Same policy. In fact, let me go back. So let's look at year 5 here. This was the 15-year fund. Your cash value is $505,810. $505,810. Next illustration. Year 5 cash value, $505,810. Identical because it's the identical policy. The difference is what? Look at your annual outlay column. When'd you stop? After the 5th year, paying 0 indefinitely. Net cash value continues to appreciate. How much is it growing by? If you look at dollars, that you can calculate, just about 20 grand. Because if I look at year 5, I'm at 505, almost 506. I paid in 0, and then the end of next year it's 526. So a little bit more than $20,000 is what it grew by that year. What's the rate on that? If you like seeing rates, well, that we got to calculate. So let's calculate it. What we've got here are the two illustrations side by side. We've got the 15-year funding scenario first, and then the 5-year funding scenario. So let's take both our annual and average internal rate of return. Strong IRR, isn't it? Now we want to get the average. Quick side note for the average. I like what we're doing right here because it's Excel based and I can do it very quickly. However, whenever you are looking at the average internal rate of return, I'd always request it on the detailed illustration. An additional report can be requested and run. This way, if we're looking at it on Excel, like we are here, we can cross-reference to make sure the numbers are accurate. It's also compliant from an insurance company standpoint. We want to make sure the full illustrations and such are being shown. I like Excel because I can see it side by side, but at the same time, the full illustrations do need to be displayed. So there's our annual and our average. The annual is isolating what the policy is growing by year over year. And then the average is taking the average over time. Now let's do this. The average, we gotta actually redo. Okay, so we've got the two side by side here. What are some things you notice? Here's a question people have sometimes. It would occur in both of these cases, or the same question occurs with both of these illustrations. What happens to your annual internal rate of return on the 15-year funding option the year you stop paying into it? It jumps, doesn't it? Yeah, quite a bit. Goes from 4.06% to 4.9% and stays close to that for a while. Over here, what happens? Well, first, let me back up actually. Let's do this. There's two jumps here. One is year 5 to 6. There's a jump when you stop paying into it. That jump's even higher when we look at it. It's more than 1%. And then you get another jump year 7 to 8. So why are the jumps occurring in the growth rate? 2 reasons. 1 reason with this, 2 reasons with this. Let's look at this and the 1 reason first. So the reason why is we're no longer paying premiums. The policy's fully paid up. There's no more premium due. It's due for 15 years. But look at your death benefit here. See that drop? Drops from 3.9 to a little bit less than 3.1. What happened? 3.9 to about 3.1. Amount of 1-year term. What happened to that column? Turned into a 0. So there's $450,000 of term gone. Dropped by more than that. What about the rest? That renewable term rider has also been dropped. So that's why we see the drop of almost, it's not quite $900,000. That's how much term is dropped. But the one thing we need to remember as well is that the death benefit is increasing from the cash value increasing and dividends and such being pushed back into the policy. So you've got a little bit of an increase offsetting that term decrease. But when we remove the term, the death benefit drops. When you remove the term, the policy does not have to pay for the term. So we're cutting the drag is how I like to refer to it. So by removing that term, when we no longer want to pay money into the policy, we're able to reduce the expenses and see the cash value grow at a faster pace. That's what we did here exactly. We typically like to keep the term on as long as we are funding or as long as we want to fund, because having that term attached, 1, keeps the MEC limit high, and 2, builds in a lot of flexibility. Specifically, it allows me to adjust my funding without having to go through medical underwriting again and such, and that specifically has to do with a 1-year term insurance rider. So that's the 15-year funding option. How about the 5? Because when we go to the 5, that was a little bit different. We've got 2 jumps here. There's jump 1, and then there's jump 2. Year 5 to 6, and then 7 to 8. Here we go. 5 to 6. Your payment is 0. Yet you've got this annual surrender of $11,215. That's your base premium of 10 and your term rider of $12,15. Surrender represents the premium that's still due, but you're not paying it. The policy is paying for itself. So the policy is covering the premium and everything else is kicked back into the policy. It's still growing at an attractive rate too. Why we had the IRR jump is because we're not paying anything in premium. Anytime we make premium or PUA payments, there are fees and expenses associated with that. Loads is sometimes what it's referred to as, premium loads. When premiums are paid to insurance companies do have to pay tax on that. So there's expenses, to summarize, associated with payments. So if we're not making a payment, we don't have those premium loads and such on the policy, which will help the annual growth rate increase as a result. How about the second jump? That happened year 7 to 8. Why did that occur? Well, the reason why is similar to the 15-year funding option. We removed the term insurance. So now we're cutting some of the drag, or as much as we can, in order to maximize the cash value growth. That's exactly what happened in this particular scenario. And it looks pretty good. They've got that premium still due through year 15. You can eliminate it with a reduced paid up. That'll particularly make the guaranteed values look better. In this example, we did not do that. And there's actually a third jump that we at first I didn't even catch, or I didn't point it out. There's jump number 1, jump number 2, jump number 3, when the premium is no longer due and the policy doesn't have to pay for itself. Very interesting stuff, isn't it? Just tricks to be aware of in order to maximize the cash value. And then we can look at the same thing in dollars if we'd like, which is pretty straightforward. We've already got the formula from the last one, so let's do this. There we go. And this is showing how much your cash value is growing by annually. For example, year 16, I'll look at first because I'm not paying anything in. Cash value was 1967. Now it's 2063. That's growth of how much? $96,000 and change. The total gain at that same point in time is $563,000. The reason why is because I've paid in 1.5 and my cash value is $2,063,000. And then I've got the same thing over here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And as always, I hope this helps. Thanks so much. Hey guys, Steve here with IBC Global. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you're interested in a whole life insurance policy and you'd like to work with our company in setting it up, please visit our website, ibcglobalinc.com. We would love to work with you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And as always, I hope this helps.